I reincarnated as a villain Omega. I want a peaceful life, so I quit the plot, but the main alpha says otherwise. Even the alpha's twin sons won't leave me alone. But I just want to laze around. Chapter 1. I became the villain Omega. The last thing Seo Haon remembered from his previous life was arguing with himself over whether he should order fried chicken or finish the leftovers in his refrigerator. He never got to decide. A flowerpot fell from the balcony of an apartment building, struck him squarely on the head, and everything went black. Young master. Someone gently shook his shoulder. Young master Seo Haon groaned. His head throbbed. Ow. The bed beneath him felt impossibly soft. The blanket smelled like lavender instead of laundry detergent. 5 more minutes. A panicked voice answered. Young master. The engagement banquet begins in 30 minutes. Engagement. Haon slowly opened his eyes. An enormous crystal chandelier sparkled above him. The bedroom was larger than his entire apartment from his previous life. Velvet curtains. Marble floors. Gold-trimmed furniture. Where am I? The maid standing nearby blinked. Young master. Haon stared at her, then at himself. His hands were pale and slender. His skin looked flawless. His silver-white hair spilled across the pillow like silk. Why am I pretty? The maid gasped. You've always been beautiful, young master. Wait. A splitting headache exploded behind his eyes. Memories poured into his mind like a flood. A fantasy novel. Magic. Hunters. Guilds. Alpha, Beta, and Omega dynamics. The Blackwood family. The world's strongest alpha. Adrian Blackwood. His favorite novel. And Seo Haon. The villain Omega. No. The maid nearly dropped the tray she was carrying. Young master. Haon buried his face in the pillow. I refuse. Pardon. I reject this reality. He remembered everything now. The original Seo Haon had been obsessed with Adrian Blackwood. He sabotaged rivals, bullied innocent Omegas, spread rumors, used his family's influence to force an engagement announcement, only for Adrian to publicly reject him. From there, everything spiraled. His family abandoned him, friends disappeared, his fortune vanished, even the people he had manipulated turned against him. The ending. Haon still remembered the final chapter. The villain Omega died alone. No family, no friends, no one attended the funeral. Readers had celebrated his downfall. Even Haon, his past self, had commented online, he deserved it. Karma works fast. The maid cautiously approached. Young master, should I prepare your outfit? Haon slowly sat up. What day is it? The day of your engagement announcement. Before the rejection. Yes. Haon looked toward the ceiling. Then clasped his hands together. Thank you, mysterious reincarnation gods. The maid tilted her head. Young master. I still have time. He jumped out of bed. His heart raced. Not because he loved Adrian. Absolutely not. He had admired Adrian as a fictional protagonist. The calm alpha who protected humanity. The strongest hunter alive. The man who defeated magical catastrophes before breakfast. Amazing protagonist. Terrible marriage candidate. Cold. Emotionally constipated. Always working. And completely uninterested in romance. Especially with Seo Haon. I am not chasing that man. Never. Not even if someone paid him. He hurried toward an enormous mirror. The reflection staring back almost made him step backward. Silver hair. Gentle blue eyes. Delicate features. Elegant posture. He looked less like a villain and more like an angel who accidentally wandered into the wrong story. No wonder everyone forgave him for 5 chapters before. Realizing he was awful, he pinched his own cheek. It hurt. Definitely real. The maid spoke again. The limousine is waiting. Haon smiled brightly. No. No. I won't be going. The maid froze. Young master. I quit. Quit. I resign. From. He pointed dramatically toward the sky. Destiny. Silence. Even the birds outside stopped chirping. The maid slowly whispered. Should I call a doctor? Probably. Haon walked toward the wardrobe. He ignored the luxurious white suit prepared for the engagement ceremony. Instead, he pulled out the simplest sweater and trousers he could find. Comfortable, practical, perfect for disappearing. The maid stared in horror. Young master, those clothes cost less than your shoes. Exactly. Quote. I like them. Haon tied his hair into a loose ponytail. Then grabbed a notebook. On the first page, he wrote 3 words. Peaceful life plan. Step 1. Do not attend engagement. Step 2. Never meet Adrian Blackwood. Step 3. Disappear before the plot notices. He nodded. Quote. Perfect. Outside the mansion, dozens of luxury cars waited. Journalists gathered near the entrance. Everyone expected today's biggest social event. Instead, the young master quietly slipped out through the servants' gate carrying one small backpack. No guards noticed. No reporters saw him. He smiled for the first time since waking up. Fresh country air would be nice. A small cafe sounded wonderful. Maybe a garden, a hammock, books, tea, naps. No protagonists, no villains, no plot, just peace. Behind him, inside the mansion, someone finally discovered his empty bedroom. Quote. Young Master Seo is missing. Panic erupted throughout the estate. Far away, Haon sneezed. Quote. Probably allergies. He had no idea. By taking one step away from destiny, he had unknowingly taken the first step toward an entirely different future. One where fate itself would refuse to let him go. Chapter 2. Resignation Letter to Destiny. Morning sunlight poured through the windows of a small countryside inn. Seo Haon stretched lazily beneath the blankets before slowly opening one eye. Quote. Silence. No maids. No butlers. No reporters waiting outside. No one shouting, "Young master." He smiled. This is nice. For the first time since regaining his memories, he slept peacefully. Yesterday had been chaotic. He had escaped the Seo estate before the engagement banquet. Judging from the dozens of missed calls on the expensive communication crystal he had turned off, his disappearance had caused absolute panic. Quote. Not my problem. He happily rolled back under the blanket. 5 more minutes. 10 minutes later, his stomach growled loudly. Quote. Fine. Breakfast 1. The innkeeper welcomed him with a warm smile. Good morning. Sleep well. Haon nodded. Better than I have in, well, ever. A plate of warm bread, scrambled eggs, fresh butter, and berry jam was placed before him. Haon clasped his hands. Thank you for the food. 1 bite. Quote. His eyes sparkled. So good. The innkeeper laughed. You must have lived in the capital. How did you know? People from the capital always react like that to fresh farm food. Haon smiled sheepishly. Quote. You got me. Maybe countryside life really was the right choice. Meanwhile, chaos erupted inside the Seo estate. He ran away. The family patriarch slammed both hands onto the table. Find him. Servants scattered in every direction. His older cousin sneered. He probably went crawling after Adrian Blackwood. Another relative nodded. That shameless Omega won't give up so easily. No one imagined. The infamous villain was currently sitting at a countryside inn happily eating homemade strawberry jam. Far away, Blackwood Tower, the tallest building in the kingdom. Adrian Blackwood silently listened while his secretary reported the previous day's events. The engagement announcement was cancelled. I know. Seo Haon disappeared. Quote. He hasn't contacted anyone. Adrian calmly signed another document. Quote. Good. The secretary blinked. Quote. Sir, the fewer interactions I have with him, the better. Quote. Understood. Neither of them knew. The Omega they expected to continue chasing Adrian had already decided to erase him from his life completely. Back at the inn, Haon rented a small desk. He laid out several sheets of paper. Quote. Time to clean up the original owner's mess. He dipped a pen into ink. Letter 1. To Adrian Blackwood. Dear Mr. Blackwood, I sincerely apologize for everything I have done. Please consider our engagement cancelled. I promise I will never bother you again. I wish you happiness. Sincerely, Seo Haon. He folded it neatly. Quote. Easy. Next. Letters to the people the original Seo Haon had bullied. Each one contained a sincere apology. No excuses. No explanations. Just regret. By lunchtime, there were 23 letters stacked neatly on the table. Quote. Wow, the original villain really was awful. His next stop, the Royal Property Office. The clerk nearly fainted. Why, young Master Seo, I'd like to sell everything. Quote. Everything. My mansion, my vacation homes, my luxury apartments, my antique collection, my sports cars, my jewelry, my designer clothes, my wine cellar. The clerk stared blankly. Quote. Everything. Everything. But, why? Haon smiled brightly. I don't need any of it. Quote. The clerk whispered. Has the world ended? 3 hours later, every major noble family in the capital received shocking news. Seo Haon was liquidating his entire fortune. Rumors spread faster than wildfire. He must have gone bankrupt. No, Adrian rejected him. Maybe he's running away. Maybe he joined a monastery. No, I heard he's become a farmer. Quote. A farmer. Nobody knew the truth. Late afternoon, Haon stood before the city's largest bank. His wealth had become one simple number. More money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes. Quote. Perfect. He smiled. No more mansions. No more servants. No more drama. Only enough money to comfortably live forever. Exactly what he wanted. His final destination, the Hunter Association Registration Office. The receptionist smiled politely. Welcome. How may I help you? I'd like to resign. Quote. Resign. My noble sponsorship. My social club memberships. My honorary titles. Quote. All of them. Yes. She looked horrified. But, those are incredibly prestigious. I know. I don't want them. Quote. Why? Haon answered honestly. They sound exhausting. That evening, he boarded a train heading toward the western countryside. The capital slowly disappeared beyond the horizon. Towering skyscrapers gave way to forests. Forests became flower fields. Flower fields became rolling green hills. Haon leaned against the window. Quote. Beautiful. He had never realized how noisy the capital had been. Here, only birds sang. The breeze smelled like wildflowers. The sunset painted the sky orange. For the first time, his shoulders relaxed. Maybe, just maybe, he could really escape the novel. He pulled out his notebook. Across the first page, he crossed out the first 3 goals. Checkmark do not attend engagement. Checkmark never meet Adrian Blackwood. Checkmark disappear before the plot notices. Then he added a 4th. Find a cafe with a big garden. He smiled sleepily. Quote. This is going great. Far behind him, back in the capital, an apology letter quietly arrived on Adrian Blackwood's desk. The Alpha stared at it for a long time. Quote. His expression remained unreadable, but for the first time, he opened the letter twice. Chapter 3. The sleepiest cafe in the kingdom. A gentle breeze carried the scent of fresh grass through the open train window. Seo Haon had fallen asleep halfway through the journey. Again, the conductor chuckled as he gently tapped Haon's shoulder. Young man. Quote. We've arrived. Haon blinked several times before sitting up. Quote. Already? You slept through almost the entire trip. Quote. Really? The conductor smiled. I've never seen anyone sleep that peacefully. Haon rubbed the back of his neck. I've had a stressful few days. I can imagine. After thanking the conductor, Haon stepped onto the tiny countryside station. Unlike the capital's bustling platforms, this one had only a single railway, a small wooden waiting shed, and colorful flower beds lining the tracks. Birds chirped happily. Children laughed somewhere nearby. A cool breeze brushed against his face. Quote. This is perfect. No skyscrapers. No noble families. No reporters. Most importantly, no protagonists. The village was called Everleaf. A peaceful town nestled between rolling hills and enchanted forests. Small magical creatures wandered freely through the streets. Tiny glowing birds perched on rooftops. Round fluffy rabbits with tiny horns nibbled flowers beside the road. Even the cats looked unusually relaxed. Haon smiled. Quote. I think I've found heaven. An elderly real estate agent greeted him warmly. You must be Mr. Seo. That's me. I heard you're looking for a building. Haon nodded. I'd like something small, preferably old, with a large garden, and somewhere quiet enough to take naps. The old man laughed. That's surprisingly specific. They spent the afternoon touring several properties. The first building stood in the center of town. It has excellent business potential. Haon frowned. Too many people. The second overlooked the marketplace. Wonderful location. Too noisy. The third sat beside the river. It has beautiful scenery. Too expensive to maintain. The old man scratched his beard. I think I know just the place. They walked nearly 20 minutes beyond the town center. At the edge of Everleaf, hidden beneath towering cherry blossom trees, stood a cozy little cafe. It had clearly been abandoned for years. The paint had faded. Flowers grew wildly around the entrance. Vines climbed across the stone walls. A wooden sign swung gently in the breeze. Even so, it was beautiful. Haon's eyes widened. I love it. The old man smiled knowingly. I thought you might. The cafe wasn't large. It had enough room for only 10 tables. A stone fireplace occupied one corner. Large windows overlooked an enormous backyard. Behind the cafe, an overgrown garden stretched farther than Haon expected. There were old fruit trees, flower beds, a small pond, even an empty greenhouse. Haon slowly walked through the garden. Wildflowers brushed against his legs. Butterflies fluttered through the air. He closed his eyes. The wind felt warm, peaceful, quiet. He smiled without realizing it. I'll buy it. The real estate agent laughed. You haven't even asked the price. I don't care. I've already fallen in love. 2 hours later, the papers were signed. The keys rested in Haon's hand. The old cafe officially belonged to him. My home. He quietly unlocked the front door. Dust floated through the afternoon sunlight. The cafe smelled old, forgotten, but somehow welcoming. Haon placed his backpack on the counter. Hello. I'm home. The next several weeks became the happiest of his new life. Every morning, he woke up with the sunrise. Not because he wanted to. Because birds refused to let him sleep. Cheap. 5 more minutes. Cheap. Please. After breakfast, he cleaned, swept floors, repaired broken chairs, painted walls a warm cream color, installed shelves for books, hung flower baskets outside. Every afternoon, he worked in the garden. The abandoned weeds slowly transformed into colorful flower beds. He planted herbs, mint, lavender, rosemary, chamomile. Vegetables soon followed. Tomatoes, lettuce, pumpkins, even magical strawberries that sparkled faintly beneath the moonlight. Haon happily watered every plant. Grow well. For some strange reason, the plants grew unusually fast. Even the village gardeners looked confused. I've never seen herbs grow overnight. Haon blinked. Really? He also discovered something unexpected. He loved baking. Fresh bread, cookies, fruit tarts, cheesecake, cream puffs. The entire cafe constantly smelled like butter and vanilla. Villagers passing by couldn't help stopping. One elderly grandmother peeked through the window. Young man. Haon looked up. Yes. Are you open? He looked around. There wasn't even a menu yet. Not officially. She smiled kindly. I'll wait. That afternoon, Haon served his very first customer. 1 slice of strawberry cheesecake. 1 cup of herbal tea. The old woman took 1 bite. Her eyes became teary. This tastes like home. Haon froze. Thank you. She smiled. You'll do well here. Word spread surprisingly fast. Within a week, the tiny abandoned cafe had become Everleaf's newest favorite place. Children came after school. Farmers visited after work. Hunters stopped by before heading into the enchanted forest. Everyone loved the peaceful atmosphere. Unlike other cafes, nobody hurried here. People read books, played board games, took afternoon naps beneath the cherry blossoms. Some customers accidentally slept for hours. Haon didn't mind. Sleep is important. One afternoon, The mayor visited. He looked around the cafe with admiration. I've never seen this place so lively. Haon poured him tea. I wanted everyone to feel comfortable. The mayor smiled. You've succeeded. What are you planning to call your cafe? Haon looked around thoughtfully. Warm sunlight. Flowers. Sleeping customers. The scent of freshly baked bread. A gentle breeze. He smiled. Haon's Garden Cafe. It doesn't need a fancy name. The mayor chuckled. It suits you. That evening, Haon flipped the sign on the front door. Open. He leaned against the doorway, watching the sunset paint the sky golden. Quote. This is the peaceful life I've always wanted. Far away, in the capital, Adrian Blackwood quietly finished reading a report. His secretary hesitated. Quote. Sir, we've finally found Seo Haon's location. Adrian looked up. Quote. Where? A small countryside village called Everleaf. Quote. What is he doing there? The secretary glanced at the report. Quote. Apparently. Quote. He's running a cafe. Silence. Adrian stared at the report for a long moment. Quote. A cafe. Yes, sir. Another long silence. Quote. Interesting. Hundreds of miles away, Haon suddenly sneezed. Quote. Someone's talking about me. He shrugged and went back to watering his flowers. He had no idea. His peaceful days were about to become much busier. Chapter 4. The strongest alpha appears. The morning in Everleaf was as peaceful as ever. Sunlight filtered through the cherry blossoms outside Haon's Garden Cafe, painting dancing patches of light across the wooden floor. Inside the cafe, Seo Haon was asleep. Again, his head rested on the counter while a half-read fantasy novel covered his face. A small wooden sign sat beside him. Owner is taking a nap. If you're a regular, please help yourself. Payment box is on the counter. Thank you. An elderly customer quietly placed a few coins into the box, poured himself tea, and left with a slice of cheesecake. No one questioned it anymore. The cafe had somehow become the most trustworthy place in town. Around noon, dark clouds gathered above Everleaf. The warm breeze turned cold. Villagers hurried indoors. It'll be a heavy storm. Hope the hunters make it back. Even magical beasts are hiding. Thunder rumbled across the sky. Moments later, rain poured like a waterfall. Haon lazily stretched. Quote. Perfect weather for another nap. Before he could lie down. Ding. The cafe door opened. A cold gust of wind swept inside. Standing in the doorway was a tall man dressed in a black coat. Rain dripped from his dark hair. His expression remained calm and unreadable. On either side of him stood two tiny boys wearing matching raincoats. They looked no older than 5. The older-looking twin peeked inside first. Quote. Papa. The other twin gasped. It smells like cake. Haon blinked. Quote. Customers. The man nodded politely. Sorry for intruding. The rain became too heavy. Haon smiled gently. You're welcome to come inside. As soon as the twins entered, they froze. Their little noses twitched. Cake. So much cake. Their sparkling eyes scanned the display case. Cheesecakes. Fruit tarts. Fresh bread. Cookies. Cream puffs. The quieter twin whispered. Quote. Paradise. His brother nodded solemnly. Definitely paradise. Haon couldn't help laughing. They're adorable. The father quietly removed his soaked coat. I'm sorry if we're disturbing you. Not at all. Haon handed each child a fluffy towel. Dry your hair first. The twins obediently accepted. Quote. Thank you. Thank you, mister. The alpha watched silently. Something about the Omega in front of him felt comfortable, strangely familiar. Haon led them to a table near the fireplace. I'll bring something warm. The twins immediately looked hopeful. Quote. Cake. Haon smiled. Cake after lunch. Quote. The two boys looked devastated. Quote. We're being oppressed. The injustice. Haon laughed. You'll survive. Several minutes later, he returned carrying hot soup, freshly baked bread, and warm milk. The twins stared. Quote. It looks delicious. Haon set everything down. Eat while it's hot. Without waiting another second, the boys dug in. Exclamation mark quote. So good. The bread is fluffy. The soup is warm. Haon watched with a satisfied smile. Children who enjoyed eating always made him happy. Meanwhile, the man quietly sipped herbal tea. His eyes widened almost imperceptibly. This tea. Haon tilted his head. Too bitter. No. It's perfect. That surprised him. Most people added honey. This man drank it exactly as it was. Silence settled comfortably between them. Rain continued outside. The fireplace crackled softly. For several peaceful minutes, nobody spoke. Haon secretly appreciated it. He's quiet. Nice. Then, the louder twin suddenly climbed off his chair. Before anyone could react, he waddled toward Haon. The little boy hugged Haon's leg. Haon froze. The second twin quickly followed. He hugged Haon's other leg. Warm. Haon looked down. What are you two doing? The louder one smiled brightly. You're pretty. His brother nodded. Very pretty. Haon blinked. Thank you. The boys hugged him tighter. The alpha stood. Boys. They ignored him. Noah. Silence. Leon. Nothing. Haon looked at him curiously. So Noah and Leon. The alpha nodded once. My sons. They're usually well behaved. The twins answered simultaneously. Not today. Haon chuckled. They're energetic. Usually. The alpha looked at his sons, who were refusing to let go of Haon's legs. Apparently not. After several minutes, Haon somehow managed to convince them to return to their seats. His reward, 2 slices of strawberry cheesecake. The twins took one bite. Their entire world stopped. Tears filled Noah's eyes. Papa. Leon slowly placed a hand over his heart. I think I've seen heaven. Haon laughed so hard he nearly dropped the teapot. The alpha quietly watched the scene. It had been a long time since he'd seen his sons smile this freely. Usually, they were quiet, reserved. Ever since, he stopped that thought before it could finish. Haon noticed the faint sadness in the man's eyes but chose not to ask. Everyone carried things they weren't ready to share. The storm finally weakened. Sunlight peeked through the clouds. The alpha stood. We should leave. The twins immediately protested. No, we're staying. Haon smiled apologetically. Your father probably has work. The boys pouted. The alpha walked toward the counter. How much? Haon quickly calculated everything. The soup, bread, tea, milk, and cheesecake. 28 silver. The alpha quietly placed an entire gold coin on the counter. Haon stared. Sir, you overpaid. Keep the change. I can't. Why? Because it's too much. The alpha looked at him for several seconds. Then, he silently accepted the correct change. Thank you. As they stepped outside, Noah suddenly ran back. He hugged Haon one last time. Bye, pretty Omega. Leon followed. We'll come again. Haon smiled warmly. I'll be here. The twins waved enthusiastically. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow. Before Haon could ask, the carriage disappeared down the road. He chuckled. Cute kids. They probably won't come back that soon. Inside the carriage, Noah looked at his father with sparkling eyes. Papa. Yes, I like him. Leon nodded seriously. I've decided. Adrian looked at both boys. Decided what? The twins smiled in perfect synchronization. We're going back tomorrow. Adrian looked out the carriage window. His gaze lingered on the tiny cafe growing smaller in the distance. For reasons he couldn't explain, he didn't dislike the idea. Perhaps. Back at the cafe, Haon happily watered his flowers, completely unaware that the quiet life he cherished had just welcomed the 3 people who would change it forever. Chapter 5. Why are the twins calling me Papa? The next morning, Seo Haon was happily watering his tomatoes. The morning breeze was cool. Birds sang from the cherry blossom trees. Everything was peaceful, exactly as it should be. This is the life. He stretched lazily before sitting beneath the old tree with a cup of tea and today's fantasy novel. Just as he finished the first page. Ding! The cafe bell rang. Already. Haon glanced toward the entrance. No way. Standing outside was the exact same black carriage from yesterday. The Blackwood family crest gleamed on its side. The cafe door slowly opened. Two familiar little figures rushed inside. Pretty Omega. We're back. Before Haon could react, thud, two tiny bodies crashed into him, wrapping themselves tightly around his waist. Oof. Haon laughed. Good morning. The twins beamed. We came back. You said you'd be here. I did. So we came. I can see that. Behind them, Adrian Blackwood entered at his usual unhurried pace. He looked as calm as ever. Good morning. Haon smiled politely. Welcome. Adrian gave a small nod. I'm sorry. They insisted. The twins immediately protested. It wasn't insisting. It was a brilliant plan. Adrian quietly corrected them. You woke me up at sunrise. That was insisting. The twins looked at each other. Fair. Haon covered his mouth to hide a laugh. As usual, Haon prepared breakfast. Fresh pancakes, honey, seasonal, fruits, warm milk. The twins stared at the table in awe. It's prettier than yesterday. It smells amazing. Haon placed the plates down. Eat before it gets cold. Noah raised his hand. Question. Yes. Can we live here? No. Leon nodded thoughtfully. Worth asking. The cafe gradually became busy. Regular customers greeted Haon warmly. Morning. Your bread sold out again yesterday. I brought fresh apples. Thanks for helping my grandson with homework. The twins watched everything with sparkling eyes. Everyone likes pretty Omega. He must be famous. An old grandmother laughed. Our Haon. He's everyone's favorite. Haon nearly dropped the bread basket. Oh, our Haon. The villagers nodded as though it were obvious. He always helps people. He repaired my fence. He made medicine when I caught a cold. He babysits the children. He even rescued Mayor Ben's duck. Haon scratched his cheek. It wasn't a rescue. The duck just followed me. The grandmother smiled knowingly. It follows only you. Noah puffed out his chest. Our papa is amazing. The cafe fell silent. Every customer slowly turned toward Haon. Haon froze. Excuse me. Leon nodded confidently. Our papa. Haon nearly choked on air. I'm not your papa. The twins looked confused. Really? They looked at Adrian. He isn't. Adrian calmly sipped his coffee. No. The twins frowned. That's strange. Haon sighed in relief. Exactly. Noah tilted his head. But Papa smiled. And he only smiles like that around family. The entire cafe became suspiciously quiet. Several grandmothers exchanged knowing looks. One whispered. How cute. Another nodded. Young love. Haon almost fainted. It's not like that. Trying to escape the awkward atmosphere, Haon hurried into the kitchen. I'll bake today's cheesecake. The twins followed. We'll help. No. We're professionals. You're 5. We're experienced 5. Haon couldn't argue with that logic. Unfortunately. 5 minutes later, flour exploded across the kitchen. Noah had somehow covered himself completely in white powder. Leon accidentally dropped blueberries into the mixing bowl, along with 3 strawberries, and 1 wooden spoon. Haon laughed helplessly. What happened? We're improving. We're experimenting. The kitchen had become a battlefield. When the cheesecake finally emerged from the oven, it looked surprisingly perfect. The twins proudly folded their arms. We helped. Haon smiled warmly. You did. The boys grinned from ear to ear. That afternoon, business slowed. The twins wandered into the cafe garden. Beautiful butterflies danced among the flowers. Tiny magical birds perched on tree branches. A fluffy rabbit with crystal-like horns hopped through the vegetables. So fluffy. So cute. Then, something enormous moved inside the bushes. Rustle. Rustle. The twins froze. Noah whispered. Quote. Monster. Leon grabbed a watering can like a weapon. I'll protect Papa. Haon stepped outside. What happened? The bushes shook again. A huge magical deer slowly emerged. Golden antlers glowed softly beneath the sunlight. The creature looked majestic, beautiful, powerful. The twins hid behind Haon. The magical beast stared quietly at Haon. Quote. Haon blinked. Oh, hello. The enormous deer gently lowered its head. Then, it nudged Haon's hand. Quote. Hungry. Haon picked a fresh apple from the garden. Here. The magical beast happily accepted it. Crunch, crunch. Its tail wagged like an oversized puppy. The twins stared with mouths wide open. Quote. Papa befriended it. No. It adopted Papa. Haon patted the deer's head. There you go. After finishing the apple, the magical beast bowed politely before disappearing. Back into the forest. The twins looked completely amazed. That was incredible. I want to tame magical beasts too. Haon smiled sheepishly. I just fed it. Unknown to everyone. From a nearby hill, several hunters had witnessed the entire scene. One rubbed his eyes. Quote. Did you see that? That was a golden forest stag. They're A-rank magical beasts. They don't approach humans. Quote. It bowed. Quote. After eating an apple, the hunters looked toward Haon's cafe with disbelief. Quote. Who exactly is that Omega? As the sun began to set, the Blackwood family prepared to leave. Noah hugged Haon again. We'll come tomorrow. Leon nodded. Definitely tomorrow. Haon laughed. You don't have school. We're on vacation. Quote. Lucky. Adrian walked toward the carriage before pausing. He looked back at Haon. Quote. Thank you. For today. Haon smiled gently. It was fun. Adrian gave the smallest smile. So small that most people would have missed it. But Haon noticed. Quote. He smiled. The Alpha entered the carriage without another word. As it disappeared down the road, Haon stretched lazily beneath the evening sky. Quote. They're good kids. A soft smile remained on his face. He still didn't realize that somewhere in the capital, rumors had already begun spreading. The Blackwood twins have found another Papa. And by tomorrow morning, the entire noble society would be talking about the mysterious Omega living in Everleaf. Chapter 6. The Magical Fox Who Stole My Bed. The morning after the Blackwood family left, Everleaf Forest was unusually quiet. The wind gently swayed the trees. Even the magical birds seemed to be whispering. Inside Haon's garden cafe, Seo Haon was still asleep. Quote. A warm ray of sunlight landed on his face. He pulled the blanket over his head. Quote. 5 more minutes. Ding. The cafe bell rang. Haon groaned. Quote. I'm closed. A familiar voice answered. You're open. Haon slowly peeked over the blanket. Standing in the cafe was Mayor Ben, holding a basket of fresh vegetables. You forgot to lock the door again. Quote. Oops. The mayor laughed. You're the only cafe owner who sleeps after opening. Haon yawned. My customers know where everything is. They do. And somehow they don't mind. Business remained lively throughout the morning. Children came for cookies. Hunters stopped by for fresh bread before entering Everleaf Forest. Farmers chatted over tea. The twins hadn't arrived today. Quote. They're probably busy, Haon murmured. For some reason, the cafe felt quieter. He quickly shook his head. Quote. No, more peace. I like peace. That afternoon, Haon carried a basket of vegetables into his garden. Tomatoes were almost ready to harvest. The magical strawberries shimmered beneath the sun. His herbs had grown so much they were beginning to overflow from their flower beds. Quote. Maybe I planted too much mint. As he trimmed the plants, he heard a faint sound. Quote. Q. Haon looked around. Quote. The sound came again. Quote. Q. It was weak, almost like someone crying. He followed the noise toward the edge of the garden. Hidden beneath a rose bush lay a tiny white fox. Its fur shimmered like freshly fallen snow. Its fluffy tail was nearly larger than its body. One front paw was injured. The little fox trembled. Golden eyes cautiously watched Haon. Quote. A magical fox. The tiny creature bared its tiny fangs. Quote. Q. It tried to look intimidating. Instead, it sneezed. Quote. Haon smiled softly. Quote. You're adorable. He slowly crouched. It's okay. I won't hurt you. The fox took one step backward. Then another. Its injured paw slipped. Quote. Q. Haon's expression immediately softened. Quote. That must hurt. He reached into his basket and pulled out a freshly baked butter cookie. Here. The fox sniffed cautiously. Quote. Q. Crunch. The cookie disappeared in one bite. The fox blinked. Then looked at Haon. Then at the empty space where the cookie had been. Quote. Q. Haon chuckled. Still hungry. He offered another cookie. This one vanished even faster. Its tiny tail slowly wagged. A few minutes later, the magical fox allowed Haon to gently pick it up. So light, it weighed almost nothing. Haon carefully carried it inside. The cafe's elderly regulars immediately gathered around. Oh my, a moonlight fox. I haven't seen one in years. They're extremely rare. Mayor Ben adjusted his glasses. That little one must have wandered away from its family. Haon gently cleaned the tiny paw. Quote. This might sting a little. The fox remained perfectly still. Not because it wasn't afraid. Because it was too busy eating another cookie. Quote. Priorities. After bandaging its paw, Haon prepared a tiny basket with a soft blanket. There. You can rest here. The fox blinked. Then, it climbed out. Quote. It ignored the basket. Ignored the blanket. Ignored the expensive pet cushion the mayor donated. Instead, it climbed onto Haon's shoulder. Quote. Q. Haon laughed. You want to stay here? The fox nodded. Quote. Q. Everyone in the cafe smiled. I think you've been chosen. That evening, the cafe finally closed. Haon stretched. What a long day. The little fox followed him everywhere. Kitchen, garden, bookshelf, even the bathroom door. Quote. You really won't leave. Quote. Q. No family waiting for you. The fox simply rubbed its fluffy head against his cheek. Quote. I guess not. Night fell over Everleaf. Haon changed into comfortable pajamas before collapsing onto his bed. Quote. Finally, the fox jumped onto the mattress. Quote. Q. It circled 3 times. Then, curled up directly on Haon's pillow. Quote. Haon stared. Quote. Little one. The fox ignored him. Quote. That's my pillow. Silence. Quote. Q. It closed its eyes. Haon sighed. Quote. You're really not moving. The fox snored. Tiny. Soft. Ridiculously cute. Quote. Fine. He reluctantly used another pillow. The next morning, Haon woke up feeling unusually warm. Quote. Something fluffy covered half his face. He opened one eye. The little fox was sleeping directly on top of his head. Quote. How? The fox yawned sleepily. Quote. Q. It happily rubbed against his hair. Haon laughed helplessly. Quote. You're impossible. Later that morning, the Blackwood carriage stopped outside the cafe. As soon as Noah and Leon entered, they immediately spotted the tiny fox. So fluffy. A fox. The little fox instantly puffed up. Quote. Hiss. It leapt onto Haon's shoulder. Its tiny body stood protectively between Haon and the twins. Noah gasped dramatically. Quote. It stole pretty Omega. Leon nodded. It's guarding Papa. I'm still not your papa. The twins ignored him completely. Adrian quietly observed the tiny fox. Quote. A moonlight fox. Mayor Ben, who happened to be drinking tea nearby, nodded. They only trust people with exceptionally gentle hearts. They normally avoid humans. Adrian looked toward Haon. The fox happily accepted another cookie from him. Quote. I see. The twins slowly approached. We're friendly. We brought cookies too. The fox sniffed them, then accepted one cookie. Q. Noah grinned. I think we're friends. The fox immediately returned to Haon's shoulder. Q. Leon sighed. Second place. Haon gently stroked the tiny fox's head. I suppose you need a name. The fox looked up. Q. He smiled. Luna. The little fox's ears perked up. Q. You like it. Its fluffy tail wagged happily. Then Luna it is. The twins clapped excitedly. Welcome to the family, Luna. Luna proudly climbed onto Haon's head again, as if claiming the highest position possible. Everyone laughed. Even Adrian's lips curved upward ever so slightly. Unfortunately, the peaceful moment didn't last. Luna suddenly noticed Adrian taking one step closer to Haon. Her golden eyes narrowed. Her tiny body puffed into a fluffy ball. Hiss. Adrian stopped walking. Luna hissed louder. Hiss. Haon blinked. Luna. The tiny fox stood protectively in front of him, clearly declaring war on the strongest alpha in the kingdom. Noah whispered excitedly. Papa has a bodyguard. Leon nodded. A very small one. Adrian looked at the tiny fox. The tiny fox looked back. Neither moved. The cafe fell into complete silence. Then, Haon sighed. Please don't fight. Luna answered by climbing onto Haon's shoulder and glaring at Adrian with all the dignity her tiny body could manage. From that day onward, everyone in Everleaf knew one thing. The world's strongest alpha feared almost nothing. Except one tiny magical fox named Luna. Chapter 7. Alpha, please stop coming every day. The morning sun had barely risen above Everleaf. Inside Haon's garden cafe, everything was quiet. Haon had just finished baking 2 strawberry cheesecakes. Fresh bread cooled on the counter. Luna was asleep on top of his head like a fluffy white hat. This is nice. He poured himself a cup of tea. Today would finally be peaceful. Surely. After all, the Blackwood family had visited yesterday. They couldn't possibly. Ding. The cafe bell rang. Haon slowly looked toward the entrance. You're kidding. Standing in the doorway was Adrian Blackwood. Again. Behind him, Noah and Leon waved excitedly. We're back. Good morning, Papa. Haon sighed. I'm still not your papa. The twins smiled. We know. Then why do you keep calling me that? Because we like it. Haon had no response. The regular customers burst into laughter. They're here again. I told you they'd come back. The little ones look happier every day. Mayor Ben whispered to Haon. I think you've been adopted. I think so too. Adrian walked to the counter. As usual. Haon blinked. As usual. The same tea. The same cheesecake. Haon stared. You've only been here 3 times. It's already my usual order. Haon couldn't argue with that. A few minutes later, Adrian quietly enjoyed his tea while reading a stack of business reports. The twins sat beside Haon in the kitchen. Can we help? No, we're professionals. You nearly burned my kitchen yesterday. Minor accident. Noah looked around. Papa, I'm not. Pretty Omega. Better. Can we make cookies? Haon smiled. Only if you listen. The twins saluted dramatically. Yes, chef. 15 minutes later, the cookie dough somehow covered. Check mark the table. Check mark the floor. Check mark nose. Check mark Leon's hair. Check mark Luna's tail. Luna stared at her fluffy white tail now coated in flour. Q. She looked personally offended. Haon laughed so hard tears formed in his eyes. I'm sorry. You look adorable. Luna puffed herself into a fluffy snowball. Hiss. When the cookies were finished, the twins proudly carried them into the cafe. One customer smiled. Did you boys make these? We helped. Our papa taught us. Haon immediately corrected them. I supervised. The customers laughed anyway. As the morning passed, a line formed outside the cafe. Travelers, hunters, Merchants. Even wandering adventurers. One customer whispered, I heard the strongest alpha comes here. Another answered, really, I want to see him. Soon. Half the customers were secretly stealing glances at Adrian. The alpha remained completely unaware. Or perhaps, he simply didn't care. Suddenly, a young female hunter approached Adrian. Excuse me. Adrian looked up. Quote. Yes, may I have your autograph? Quote. No. Quote. She looked heartbroken. Then she noticed Haon. Can I have yours instead? Haon nearly dropped the tray. Quote. Mine. You own this cafe. The cheesecake is legendary. I told my guild about it. Haon blinked. Quote. Legendary. Mayor Ben proudly nodded. It sold out before noon yesterday. Another customer added, I traveled 2 towns just to eat here. Haon slowly looked at the empty dessert shelf. Quote. Already. The twins raised both hands proudly. We helped sell it. You mostly ate samples. Quote. Quality control. That afternoon, the cafe finally became quiet again. Adrian closed his reports. Quote. Thank you. Haon smiled. For what? The boys. They've laughed more this week than they have in months. Haon glanced at Noah and Leon. The twins were chasing butterflies with Luna in the garden. Quote. They're good children. Adrian watched them silently. Quote. They used to smile like that every day. Haon noticed the sadness in Adrian's voice. What changed? For a long moment, Adrian said nothing. Finally, my wife passed away 2 years ago. Silence filled the cafe. Haon looked toward the twins. They laughed happily, completely unaware of the conversation. I'm sorry. Adrian simply nodded. So am I. No more words were needed. Haon quietly poured another cup of tea. Sometimes, the kindest thing wasn't advice. It was silent company. The peaceful atmosphere lasted exactly 3 minutes. Noah suddenly ran inside. Emergency. Leon followed. Very serious. Haon stood immediately. What happened? The twins pointed toward the garden. Luna climbed the cherry tree. And now she won't come down. Everyone rushed outside. Sure enough, Luna sat proudly on the highest branch. Quote. Q. Haon looked up. Luna. Quote. Q. Come down. The fox looked away dramatically. No, at least. That was exactly what her expression seemed to say. The twins gasped. She's ignoring Papa. Impossible. Adrian calmly stepped forward. I'll get her. The moment he approached the tree. Hiss. Luna fluffed into a tiny white cloud of fury. Adrian stopped. Quote. The villagers tried not to laugh. Mayor Ben coughed into his fist. I believe. Quote. She still doesn't like you. Haon sighed. He walked beneath the tree. Luna. Quote. Q. I baked fresh butter cookies. Luna's ears twitched. Quote. 2 cookies. The fox immediately jumped into Haon's arms. The twins cheered loudly. Papa wins again. Cookies are stronger than trees. Adrian quietly watched Luna happily munching her reward. Quote. Remarkable. As evening approached, the Blackwood family prepared to leave once again. Noah hugged Haon tightly. We'll see you tomorrow. Leon nodded. Same time. Haon blinked. Quote. Tomorrow. Adrian adjusted his coat. I have business in Everleaf. Mayor Ben raised an eyebrow. Quote. Every day. Adrian answered without changing expression. Quote. Apparently. Haon wasn't convinced. Quote. There isn't enough business in Everleaf for daily visits. The alpha remained perfectly calm. Quote. There is now. Quote. You're making excuses. Quote. Perhaps. For the first time, Haon saw Adrian's lips curve into a faint, genuine smile. It was small, warm, and surprisingly handsome. Haon quickly shook his head. No, don't admire the protagonist. That's how the original villain got into trouble. Luna noticed him staring. She immediately climbed onto Haon's shoulder and glared at Adrian. Hiss. Adrian sighed. Quote. We're rivals again. Noah giggled. Luna protects Papa. Leon nodded seriously. Mission successful. As the carriage disappeared down the road, Haon leaned against the cafe door. I have a bad feeling. They're really going to come every day. Inside the carriage, Noah smiled happily. Papa. Yes. When are we visiting Pretty Omega again? Adrian looked out the window toward the shrinking cafe. Tomorrow. The twins high-fived each other. Their plan was working perfectly. Meanwhile, Haon looked at tomorrow's baking schedule. For some strange reason, he found himself writing down 3 extra slices of cheesecake. Why did I do that? Luna simply curled up on his shoulder, as if she already knew the answer. Chapter 8. My cafe has become a kindergarten. Morning arrived in Everleaf. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the cherry blossoms surrounding Haon's garden cafe. Seo Haon stretched lazily on the porch. Today's going to be peaceful. Luna, perched comfortably on his head, opened one eye. Q. She sounded unconvinced. Haon chuckled. You worry too much. He flipped the sign outside. Open. Exactly 3 seconds later. Ding. The cafe bell rang. Already. The familiar voices echoed through the cafe. Good morning, Pretty Omega. The Blackwood twins charged inside like tiny hurricanes. Noah hugged Haon's waist. Leon hugged one of his arms. We're here. We brought friends. Haon's smile slowly disappeared. Friends. Outside. A large carriage stopped in front of the cafe. Then another. And another. Children began climbing down one after another. There were little alphas, little betas, little omegas, even 2 tiny beastkin with fluffy ears. Haon counted silently. 1. 5. 8. 12. Noah proudly puffed out his chest. We invited everyone. Leon nodded. They wanted to meet Pretty Omega. Haon looked toward Adrian. Did you know about this? Adrian calmly sipped the tea Haon had just served him. Yes. And you didn't stop them. They asked politely. You're impossible. Within minutes, the quiet cafe transformed into complete chaos. One little girl wanted cheesecake. Another wanted cookies. 2 boys argued over who got the biggest cinnamon roll. One tiny beastkin child chased butterflies through the garden. Another tried to pet Luna. Hiss. The little fox immediately hid behind Haon's shoulder. No touching. The children gasped. She talks with her face. So cute. Haon sighed. Everyone. The children immediately looked at him. If you're going to stay, you have to follow 3 rules. The children nodded seriously. He held up one finger. First, no fighting. Okay. A second finger. No climbing the roof. Several children slowly lowered the ladders they had somehow found. Where did you even get those? No one answered. Haon sighed. And third, no feeding magical beasts without asking me. Everyone agreed. Yes. The rules lasted exactly 7 minutes. A loud splash echoed from the garden. Ah! Haon rushed outside. The decorative pond had become a swimming pool. 5 children floated happily inside. Noah waved. It's hot. Leon nodded. We improved the pond. You flooded my vegetables. Minor sacrifice. After rescuing everyone, Haon handed out towels. No more swimming. The children nodded obediently. Until tomorrow. I heard that. Just when peace seemed to return, Mayor Ben hurried into the cafe. Haon, what happened? There are magical rabbits outside. So, they won't leave. Haon stepped outside. Nearly 20 fluffy horned rabbits sat patiently in front of the cafe. Hello. The rabbits all stood up. Then, they bowed. Every single one. The children gasped. They're greeting Papa. I'm not. The rabbits ignored him and hopped toward the garden. Instead of eating vegetables, they began pulling weeds. One rabbit watered flowers using tiny water magic. Another gathered fallen leaves. Haon stared blankly. Quote dot 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 quote. Quote dot dot dot. They're helping. Mayor Ben rubbed his forehead. I've never seen magical beasts volunteer for gardening. The children immediately joined in. We'll help too. Noah carried a tiny watering can. Leon carefully planted flower seeds. The other children cleaned tables, swept floors, collected empty cups. What had started as complete chaos slowly became organized. Haon smiled. Quote dot dot dot. Thank you. One little Omega girl looked up at him. Papa smiles nicely. The other children nodded together. Our papa. Haon sighed dramatically. I'm really not your papa. The children giggled. Okay, papa. Inside the cafe, Adrian quietly watched everything unfold. One of the village grandmothers sat beside him. They love him. Quote dot dot dot. Yes, you do too. Adrian calmly continued drinking tea. Quote dot 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 quote. Quote dot dot dot. Perhaps. The grandmother laughed. You've been coming every day. I like the tea. And the cheesecake. Of course. Quote dot 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 quote. Quote dot dot dot. And the peaceful atmosphere. She smiled knowingly. You forgot one reason. Adrian looked toward the garden. Haon laughed as he wiped mud from Noah's face. Leon proudly showed him the flowers he had planted. Luna supervised from Haon's shoulder like a tiny queen. Quote dot 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 quote. Quote dot dot dot. Maybe. The grandmother simply chuckled. That afternoon, a traveling merchant arrived in Everleaf. He stared at the crowded cafe. Quote dot 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 quote. I thought this was a cafe. Mayor Ben nodded. It is. It looks like a daycare. Quote dot dot dot. It is that too. Children laughed beneath the cherry blossoms. The magical rabbits happily worked beside them. Several magical birds perched on the cafe roof, singing. A pair of tiny deer wandered into the garden. Even butterflies seemed unusually numerous today. The merchant whispered. Quote dot dot dot. Is this some kind of magical sanctuary? Mayor Ben smiled. We've started calling it the happiest place in Everleaf. As evening approached, parents arrived to collect their children. One by one, the little visitors hugged Haon goodbye. See you tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Haon. We'll help again. Noah and Leon hugged him last. Our kindergarten was fun. Haon blinked. Quote dot dot dot. Kindergarten. Leon nodded confidently. This cafe is basically one. Haon looked around. Tiny chairs. Crayons on the tables. Cookie crumbs everywhere. A magical rabbit sleeping beside the fireplace. Luna occupying the best seat in the cafe. He slowly sighed. Quote dot 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 quote. Quote dot dot dot. When did this happen? As the Blackwood carriage prepared to leave, Adrian stopped beside Haon. Quote dot dot dot. I'm sorry. For what? The children. Haon looked toward the empty garden. Flower beds had been replanted. The weeds were gone. Everything was cleaner than this morning. He smiled softly. Quote dot dot dot. They actually helped. Adrian nodded. They wanted to make this place better. Haon watched Noah and Leon waving enthusiastically from the carriage. Quote dot 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 quote. Quote dot dot dot. They're good kids. They are. A comfortable silence settled between them. Finally, Adrian quietly spoke. Quote dot dot dot. We'll come again tomorrow. Haon covered his face with both hands. Quote dot dot dot. I knew you were going to say that. From atop his shoulder, Luna looked at Adrian. Quote dot dot dot. Hiss. The alpha gave the tiny fox a resigned look. Quote dot dot dot. Goodbye to you too. Noah burst into laughter. Luna still doesn't like Papa. Leon nodded. She's winning. The carriage disappeared down the road. Haon looked around his cafe. There were children's drawings hanging on the walls. Tiny handprints covered one flower pot. Someone had left behind a stuffed rabbit. He smiled despite himself. Quote dot 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 quote. Quote dot dot dot. It's noisier than I wanted. Luna rubbed against his cheek. Quote dot dot dot. Q. Quote dot 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 quote. Quote dot dot dot. But. Quote dot dot dot. Maybe it isn't so bad. High above, Everleaf, several magical birds circled the cafe before flying toward the nearby forest. As if spreading news throughout the magical world, there was a new place where everyone felt safe. A sleepy little cafe, owned by one lazy Omega, whose peaceful life was becoming anything but peaceful. Chapter 9. Lazy days never last. The next morning, a cool autumn breeze drifted through Everleaf. The cafe was unusually quiet. No children, No magical rabbits. No twins. No Adrian. Seo Haon stretched beneath the cherry blossom tree. Quote. Finally, he lay down on the wooden bench with a fluffy blanket. Luna curled into a tiny white ball on his chest. Quote. Q. Haon smiled sleepily. This is peace. 5 peaceful minutes passed. Then, boom, a loud explosion echoed from somewhere in the forest. Birds flew into the sky. Luna's ears immediately stood upright. Quote. Q. Haon sighed. Quote. Please don't tell me. Another explosion, followed by shouting, "Run, it's coming this way." Haon slowly covered his face. Quote. My peaceful day is over. A few moments later, 3 hunters burst through the cafe gate. Their uniforms were torn. Their armor was scorched. One of them carried an unconscious young mage. Help, we need somewhere safe. Haon immediately stood. What happened? The forest. The magic is out of control. Mayor Ben hurried over. A spirit bloom tree has awakened. Everyone in Everleaf froze. The spirit bloom tree was an ancient magical tree deep within the forest. Normally, it peacefully purified mana, but every 100 years, it bloomed. When that happened, its overflowing magic attracted every magical beast nearby. If left alone, the beasts would begin fighting over the concentrated mana. The entire forest would descend into chaos. Inside the cafe, the injured mage slowly woke up. Quote. Water. Haon handed him a warm cup of herbal tea. Drink slowly. The mage obeyed. His pale face gradually regained some color. Quote. Thank you. The hunters looked relieved. He's stable. Mayor Ben frowned. The Hunter Association won't arrive until tomorrow. That's too late. The magical beasts will destroy half the forest. Silence filled the cafe. Everyone looked worried. Everyone. Except Haon. Quote. Spirit bloom. That sounded familiar. He searched through the memories of both his past life and the novel. Suddenly, his eyes widened. Quote. Wait, I know what's wrong. Everyone turned toward him. You do. Haon nodded. The spirit bloom tree isn't attacking. It never attacks. It's asking for help. Quote. Help. Haon calmly explained. The flowers only bloom when the tree has too much mana. If nobody removes the excess, it becomes unstable. One hunter frowned. How do you remove magical energy from a tree? Haon blinked. Quote. By harvesting the flowers. Silence. The hunters exchanged confused looks. Quote. That's it. Quote. Yes. Quote. Seriously. Quote. They're actually valuable medicinal ingredients. Mayor Ben slowly rubbed his forehead. Quote. We've been preparing for battle. Quote. Against a tree that needed pruning. Quote. Basically. The hunters looked embarrassed. Quote. Let's pretend nobody heard this. Just then, the familiar sound of wheels echoed outside. The Blackwood carriage arrived. The twins rushed inside. Papa, we came to help. Haon smiled. Good morning. Adrian entered behind them. He immediately noticed the tense atmosphere. What happened? Mayor Ben explained everything. Adrian listened quietly, then looked at Haon. Quote. You know the solution. I think so. Quote. Let's go. Half an hour later, everyone arrived at the center of Everleaf Forest. The enormous spirit bloom tree towered above them. Its golden blossoms illuminated the forest like tiny stars. Magical beasts surrounded it. Wolves, deer, birds, foxes, even enormous bears. Instead of attacking, they simply waited, as though protecting the tree. Haon smiled. Quote. See, they're worried. The hunters hesitated. Quote. Can we even get close? The magical beast slowly turned toward the humans. Several growled cautiously. The hunters instinctively reached for their weapons. Haon quickly raised one hand. Don't. They're scared. He slowly walked forward. Luna sat proudly on his shoulder. Quote. Q. One by one, the magical beast stepped aside, creating a clear path. The hunters stared in disbelief. Quote. Again, Mayor Ben sighed. I'm getting used to it. Haon reached the enormous tree. Golden flowers covered every branch. The tree gently rustled, almost as if greeting him. Hello. He carefully picked one blossom. Then another. Then another. The overflowing magical energy gradually settled. The glowing branches slowly dimmed. The violent wind disappeared. The tree relaxed. Its leaves gently swayed in gratitude. That was all. Haon nodded. All done. Suddenly, a single golden flower floated down from the highest branch. It landed gently in Haon's hands. The blossom transformed into a tiny glowing seed. Mayor Ben gasped. The tree's blessing. One hunter whispered. It only gives those to people acknowledged by the forest. Another stared at Haon. Who exactly are you? Haon blinked. A cafe owner. Nobody looked convinced. The magical beasts began approaching. Instead of acting aggressively, they politely bowed. The enormous golden stag from before stepped forward. It lowered its magnificent antlers before Haon. The wolves followed. Then the birds. Then the bears. Soon, dozens of magical beasts bowed together. The twins' eyes sparkled. So cool. Our papa is amazing. Haon sighed. I'm still not. The magical beasts looked up at him simultaneously. Maybe arguing isn't worth it anymore. Back in Everleaf, news spread faster than wildfire. The forest was saved. The magical beasts didn't attack. A cafe owner solved everything. Traveling merchants began telling the story. Hunters spread the rumor to nearby cities. Within a single afternoon, people started calling him the gardener blessed by the forest. Haon nearly fainted when he heard it. That's way too embarrassing. That evening, the cafe became livelier than ever. Villagers celebrated with music. Children danced around the garden. The magical rabbits returned carrying fresh flowers. Even the birds sang louder than usual. The twins proudly helped decorate the cafe. Luna sat atop the signboard like a tiny queen. Adrian quietly approached Haon. You saved everyone. Haon shook his head. I just remembered something from a book. Even so, Adrian looked toward the joyful villagers. They're smiling because of you. Haon followed his gaze. The once quiet cafe had become the heart of Everleaf. Children laughed. Families shared desserts. Magical creatures wandered safely through the garden. For the first time, Haon realized, this little cafe wasn't only his peaceful escape anymore. It had become a place where everyone could rest. He smiled softly. Maybe. This isn't such a bad life after all. Luna purred happily on his shoulder. Far above the forest, the ancient spirit bloom tree shimmered beneath the moonlight. Its branches swayed gently toward the cafe, as though promising to quietly watch over the lazy Omega who had unknowingly become Everleaf's safest place. Chapter 10. A family that doesn't feel like one. Yet, the first rays of sunlight spilled across Everleaf. Warm light filtered through the cherry blossom trees surrounding Haon's garden cafe. Inside, Seo Haon carefully placed a tray of freshly baked bread onto the counter. The rich aroma of butter and honey filled the cafe. Luna sniffed the air. Haon smiled. I know. It's your favorite. He tore off a tiny piece and handed it to her. The little fox happily accepted it before curling up on the windowsill. Everything felt peaceful. For once, outside, the familiar black carriage rolled into town. Haon didn't even need to look. They're here. The cafe bell rang. Good morning. Noah and Leon burst inside. Pretty Omega. We missed you. Haon laughed. You were here yesterday. That was too long. It felt like forever. Behind them, Adrian entered with his usual calm expression. Good morning. Haon poured him tea before he even sat down. The usual. Adrian nodded once. Thank you. Haon blinked. I'm starting to remember your order automatically. The Alpha quietly replied. I noticed. The twins happily occupied their table. Without asking, without hesitation, One of the regulars laughed. I think that's officially their seat now. Another villager added. And that's the guild master's seat. Haon looked toward Adrian. Quote. When did everyone decide this? Mayor Ben chuckled. A few days ago. Breakfast ended peacefully. Too peacefully. Haon immediately became suspicious. Quote. You two aren't planning anything, are you? The twins shook their heads innocently. No, absolutely not. Luna narrowed her eyes. Quote. Q. She didn't believe them either. A few minutes later, Noah disappeared. Leon disappeared. Quote. Haon sighed. I knew it. He searched the cafe. Not in the kitchen. Not in the garden. Not upstairs. Then, he heard giggling from the storage room. Opening the door, he froze. Quote. The twins had built an enormous blanket fort. Tables, chairs, blankets, pillows, even Luna's favorite cushion. Noah proudly smiled. We made a house. Leon nodded. For our family. Haon blinked. Quote. Family. The twins happily pointed. This room is yours. This room is Papa Adrian's. Our room is over there. Quote. And Luna's room. The twins pointed toward the biggest pillow inside the fort. Luna immediately walked inside. Quote. Q. She curled up on the pillow. Apparently approving the arrangement. Haon sighed dramatically. Even Luna joined. The children spent the afternoon decorating their little fort. They drew pictures, hung paper flowers, made tiny wooden signs. One sign read, The Blackwood Family. Haon quietly reached for it. Quote. Let's change this. He wrote instead. Garden Cafe Clubhouse. The twins looked disappointed. Quote. Close enough. Meanwhile, several customers smiled as they watched. An elderly grandmother whispered, Doesn't it look nice? Mayor Ben nodded. They already feel like a family. Across the room, Adrian silently looked toward the blanket fort. The sight stirred memories he hadn't visited in years. His late wife laughing while decorating the twins' nursery. Tiny baby clothes. Small wooden toys. Warm evenings together. For just a moment, pain crossed his usually expressionless face. Haon noticed. Without saying anything, he quietly placed another cup of tea beside Adrian. No words, just warmth. Adrian looked at him. Quote. Thank you. That afternoon, rain began falling outside. Customers stayed longer than usual. Some read books. Others played chess. Children colored pictures together. The twins invited every child into the blanket fort. Soon, it became crowded. Noah peeked out. Papa. Haon instinctively answered. Yes. Silence. Everyone looked at him. Quote. Haon's eyes widened. Quote. I answered. The twins burst into laughter. You admitted it. You answered. Haon immediately panicked. No. I was distracted. It doesn't count. The entire cafe laughed. Even Adrian quietly smiled behind his teacup. Later, a tiny Omega girl tugged on Haon's sleeve. Mr. Haon. Yes. Why do Noah and Leon call you Papa? Haon opened his mouth, then closed it again. Quote. That's. Quote. A long story. The little girl tilted her head. But you take care of them. You cook for them. You read stories. You help them when they're sad. Quote. That's what parents do. Haon couldn't answer. As evening approached, the rain finally stopped. A rainbow stretched across the sky. The children ran outside to admire it. Noah quietly slipped his hand into Haon's. Leon held Adrian's. Look, a rainbow. Haon smiled softly. It's beautiful. The twins looked at each other. Then, without warning, they swapped hands. Now, Noah held Adrian's hand. Leon held Haon's. Then they moved closer. The four of them stood side by side beneath the rainbow. One passing traveler stopped walking. Quote. What a beautiful family. Haon immediately waved both hands. It's a misunderstanding. The traveler had already continued down the road. Noah looked pleased. He noticed. Leon nodded. Our plan is working. What plan? The twins only giggled. As sunset painted the sky orange, the Blackwood family prepared to leave. Noah hugged Haon tightly. I wish you came home with us. Leon quietly added. Quote. Me too. Haon gently patted their heads. I have a cafe to take care of. The twins looked disappointed. Okay. Adrian watched the exchange silently. Then, for the first time, he spoke honestly. The house feels quieter after we leave here. Silence settled over the cafe. Haon looked at Adrian. The alpha's expression remained calm. But there was unmistakable loneliness behind his eyes. Haon smiled gently. Then come back tomorrow. Adrian blinked. May I? Haon laughed. You've been doing that every day anyway. For the first time in a long while. Adrian laughed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. Just a soft, genuine chuckle. The entire cafe became silent. Mayor Ben whispered. Did the guild master just laugh? The villagers stared. No one had ever heard Adrian Blackwood laugh before. Noah and Leon cheered. Papa laughed. We won. Adrian cleared his throat. Let's go home. The twins happily climbed into the carriage. As it disappeared down the road, Haon leaned against the cafe door. Luna climbed onto his shoulder. Q. He watched the sunset quietly. They're becoming important to me. The realization made him pause. He had reincarnated to escape the novel. To avoid attachments. To live quietly. Yet somehow, every day, the cafe felt a little warmer. A little livelier. A little more like home. Maybe. A family doesn't have to share the same name. To feel like one. Behind him, the children's blanket fort still stood inside the cafe. Untouched. Waiting for tomorrow. Chapter 11. Villains don't deserve happiness. Right. Autumn quietly settled over Everleaf. Golden leaves drifted through the air, landing gently around Haon's garden cafe. The cafe was peaceful. Children colored pictures near the fireplace. Several magical rabbits slept beneath the windows. Luna occupied her usual throne. Haon's lap. Q. Haon smiled as he absent-mindedly stroked her fluffy head. This really is nice. For a brief moment, everything felt perfect. Then, the nightmare returned. Don't touch me, monster. You're disgusting. Nobody wants an Omega like you. Stay away from Adrian. You deserve to die alone. Haon suddenly opened his eyes. Exclamation mark. His breathing became uneven. His heart pounded violently. Cold sweat covered his forehead. Another dream. Or rather, another memory. Not his own. The original Seo Haon's. Fragments flashed through his mind. The original villain screaming at innocent people. Destroying someone's shop. Slapping another Omega during a banquet. Bribing reporters. Threatening servants. And finally, standing alone in the rain after Adrian publicly rejected him. The humiliation. The loneliness. The hatred. Haon quietly hugged his knees. He really ruined everything, even though those weren't his own actions. The guilt remained. Luna gently nudged his cheek. Q. Haon forced a smile. I'm okay. The little fox stared at him. Q. She clearly didn't believe him. Later that morning, the cafe opened as usual. Haon smiled, cooked, served customers, laughed with the children. But something felt different. The smile never quite reached his eyes. Mayor Ben noticed first. You look tired. I'm fine. You've said that 3 times today. Have I? Not long afterward, the familiar carriage stopped outside. Noah and Leon ran inside. Papa, we're here. Haon smiled gently. Welcome. The twins immediately paused. Pretty Omega, you're smiling funny. Haon blinked. Funny. Leon quietly nodded. It's a sad smile. Children noticed everything, even the things adults tried to hide. Adrian entered behind them. He looked at Haon for only a few seconds. Then, you didn't sleep well. Haon looked surprised. How did you know? You've yawned 6 times. You counted. I notice things. Haon laughed softly. That's a little scary. Business continued. The cafe remained lively. But Haon's thoughts kept drifting. Back to the novel. Back to the ending. Back to the villain's death. Quote. What if? Nothing really changed. He had escaped the original plot. Yet, he still occupied the villain's body. Would fate eventually correct itself? Would everyone leave him one day? Would Adrian remember everything the original Seo Haon had done? And begin to hate him again? That afternoon, Noah proudly handed Haon a drawing. We made this. Haon looked down. It showed a little cafe, 2 smiling twins, a fluffy fox, Adrian, and himself. All 4 were holding hands. Above them, the twins had written in crooked letters, "Our family." Haon's smile slowly disappeared. His fingers trembled. Family. The memories crashed into him again. The original Seo Haon had died alone. No family. No friends. Nobody mourned him. Villains don't deserve families. He whispered so quietly that almost no one heard. Almost. Adrian did. Who told you that? Haon froze. Nobody. That's not true. Silence. The Alpha quietly set down his teacup. He looked directly at Haon. The Seo Haon standing in front of me has never harmed me. He has never harmed my sons. He has only shown kindness. Haon lowered his eyes. But the past doesn't disappear. No, it doesn't. But people can choose what they become afterward. The cafe became unusually quiet. Even the children seemed to sense something important was happening. Noah slowly climbed onto Haon's lap. Papa, I'm still. We know. The little Alpha gently hugged him. We don't care. Leon hugged him from the other side. We like this Haon, not the old one. Haon's eyes widened. You know. The twins nodded. Papa Adrian told us. He said people can change. Haon looked toward Adrian. The Alpha simply nodded once. You didn't hide it from them. I don't believe children should be taught to hate. Silence. Haon's eyes slowly became wet. Not because he was sad. Because, for the first time, someone had judged him for who he was now, not who the original villain had been. Luna climbed onto his shoulder. She gently licked his cheek. Q. As if saying, you're one of us. One of the regular grandmothers quietly approached. She handed Haon a warm scarf she had knitted herself. I made this for you. For me. You worked too hard. Another villager stepped forward. I brought fresh apples. A hunter placed several jars of forest honey on the counter. For the cafe. Soon, one by one, the villagers began leaving little gifts. Fresh vegetables, homemade jam, flowers, books, a tiny carved wooden fox. Haon stared at the growing pile. What's all this? Mayor Ben smiled warmly. You've spent months taking care of everyone. It's our turn. That evening, after everyone went home, Haon stood alone in the garden. Golden leaves drifted around him. He looked toward the cafe windows. Inside, the blanket fort still stood. The children's drawings still decorated the walls. Luna slept peacefully on the counter. He quietly whispered to himself. Maybe. Villains don't deserve happiness. He paused, then slowly smiled. But perhaps. People who choose kindness do. Behind him, Adrian had quietly returned. He had forgotten one of the twins' storybooks. He heard every word, without interrupting, without revealing himself. He simply looked at Haon standing beneath the autumn leaves. Then quietly smiled. You're wrong. He whispered so softly that only the wind carried his voice. You deserve far more happiness than you realize. He placed the forgotten storybook by the cafe door. Then silently walked away. Inside the cafe, Luna opened one eye. She watched Adrian leave. Q. For once, she didn't hiss. Not because she trusted him completely. But because she knew He was protecting Haon in his own quiet way. And somewhere deep inside, the lonely heart of the former villain began believing that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't destined to be alone anymore. Chapter 12. The Alpha Who Learned to Smile. Winter arrived quietly in Everleaf. Snow covered the rooftops. The cherry blossom trees had traded their pink petals for soft blankets of white. Tiny puffs of warm air escaped from the chimneys of Haon's garden cafe. Inside, the fireplace crackled warmly. The smell of cinnamon rolls, hot chocolate, and freshly baked apple pie filled the room. Haon smiled contentedly. Perfect weather. He wrapped himself in a fluffy blanket while reading a fantasy novel. Luna slept on his lap. Q. Neither of them wanted to move. Ding. The cafe bell rang. Without looking up, Haon spoke. Welcome. Two familiar voices answered. Pretty Omega. We're freezing. Noah and Leon rushed inside wearing matching winter coats and fluffy scarves. Their cheeks were bright red from the cold. Haon immediately stood. Oh no. You two are freezing. He crouched and gently warmed their tiny hands between his own. There. Much better. The twins smiled brightly. Warm. Like home. Behind them, Adrian quietly entered, brushing snow from his black coat. Even in winter, he looked impossibly composed. Good morning. Haon smiled. The usual. Adrian nodded. Please. Only a few minutes later. 3 steaming mugs rested on the table. Hot chocolate for the twins. Herbal tea for Adrian. Haon held his own mug with both hands. This is the best season. Noah tilted his head. Really? Of course. Everyone has an excuse to stay inside. And nap. Leon nodded seriously. That's a very Haon reason. Haon laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. Outside, snow continued falling. Inside, customers gathered around the fireplace. Some played board games. Others quietly read books. Children colored pictures. Luna slept beside the fire. It felt peaceful. Suddenly, Noah looked toward the large window. Papa, I'm still. We know. Can we build a snowman? Haon looked outside. The snow was already deep enough. Why not? The twins cheered. Soon, the entire village gathered outside. Children rolled giant snowballs. Villagers laughed together. Even Mayor Ben attempted to build one. Unfortunately, his snowman leaned sideways. Don't judge me. Haon smiled. It has personality. Noah and Leon immediately dragged Haon into their team. Our snowman will be the biggest. Haon sighed dramatically. I knew this would happen. Luna sat on his shoulder, completely refusing to touch the snow. Q. I don't blame you. Nearby, Adrian quietly watched everyone. One of the elderly grandmothers approached him. Aren't you joining? I don't know how. She blinked. You've never built one. Adrian calmly shook his head. No. Before becoming the guild master, he had trained constantly. After becoming the guild master, he worked constantly. Somehow, he had skipped simple childhood memories. Haon overheard the conversation. Really? Adrian nodded. Really? Haon smiled warmly. Then come here. You'll learn today. The strongest alpha in the kingdom spent the next 20 minutes learning how to roll snow. Like this. No. Use both hands. This. Better. The villagers secretly watched from afar. Mayor Ben whispered. Is the guild master getting snowman lessons? Another villager nodded. Apparently. The twins worked incredibly hard. After nearly an hour, their masterpiece was complete. A large snowman, tiny button eyes, a carrot nose, a scarf, a baker's apron. Luna climbed onto its head. Q. Noah proudly announced. It looks like pretty Omega. Haon stared. It actually does. Leon looked toward Adrian. Papa. Yes, you need one too. Within minutes, they built another snowman. This one wore a tiny black scarf. A stick shaped like a sword. Its expression somehow looked serious. The twins nodded proudly. That's Papa Adrian. The villagers burst into laughter. Even Adrian looked slightly embarrassed. Quote. It's accurate. Then, Noah looked between the two snowmen. He smiled mischievously. Quote. They're lonely. Leon immediately understood. He rolled one tiny snowball, placed it between them, then made a tiny baby snowman. Quote. Haon blinked. Quote. What's that? Our family. Silence. The entire village froze. Mayor Ben quietly turned away to hide his smile. The grandmothers looked ready to cry from cuteness. Haon covered his face. Quote. You two never give up. The twins proudly nodded. Never. Suddenly, someone threw a snowball. Thump. It landed perfectly on Noah's hat. He gasped dramatically. Quote. An attack. Leon immediately retaliated. Soon, the entire village became a battlefield. Snowballs flew everywhere. Children laughed. Adults joined in. Even the hunters abandoned their dignity. Haon carefully hid behind a tree. Quote. I'll stay safe here. Unfortunately, someone found him. Noah pointed dramatically. Target acquired. Leon raised another snowball. Papa is defenseless. Quote. Wait. Puff. A snowball hit Haon's shoulder. Quote. You little troublemakers. He slowly picked up a snowball. The twins gasped. Quote. Run. The battle officially began. Several minutes later, everyone collapsed into the snow laughing. Haon lay on the ground beside the twins. The winter sky stretched endlessly above them. Quote. Today was fun. Noah smiled. The best. Leon nodded. Very best. A few feet away, Adrian quietly watched them, his sons, laughing, playing, smiling without restraint, something they hadn't done in years. Haon noticed him standing alone. He gently tossed a tiny snowball. It bounced harmlessly off Adrian's shoulder. Quote. The alpha looked at him. Haon smiled playfully. Quote. You're still playing. Silence. Then, something incredible happened. Adrian bent down, made his own snowball, and gently tossed it back. It landed softly against Haon's apron. The twins stared. Mayor Ben stared. The villagers stared. The strongest alpha had just started a snowball fight. Haon laughed. A genuine laugh. So, you do know how to have fun. Adrian looked toward his sons. Then toward Haon. Slowly. Very slowly. His lips curved upward. Not a faint smile. Not a tiny smirk. A real smile. Warm. Bright. Gentle. It completely transformed his face. The entire village fell silent. One grandmother whispered. Quote. He's handsome when he smiles. Mayor Ben nodded. I forgot he could. The twins cheered louder than anyone. Papa smiled. He really smiled. Haon couldn't help smiling back. Quote. There it is. The smile you've been hiding. Adrian quietly replied. Quote. Perhaps. I simply forgot how. Haon looked at the snowy village. The laughing children. The warm cafe waiting nearby. Luna sleeping atop the snowman. The twins happily making snow angels. Then he looked back at Adrian. Quote. Then. We'll remind you. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. No confession. No romance. Just two lonely people, standing quietly in the falling snow. One slowly learning how to smile again. The other slowly realizing that seeing that smile made him happier than he expected. As evening settled over Everleaf, the cafe lights glowed warmly against the snowy landscape. From the window, the villagers watched the four figures walking back together. Two energetic little boys running ahead. A tiny fox riding on a snowman's head until Haon picked her up. An Omega carrying fresh bread. And an Alpha, who was smiling, not because he had won a battle, not because he had completed a mission, but simply because, for the first time in years, he had found a place where he could just be Adrian. Chapter 13. Festival of Magical Lanterns. Spring returned to Everleaf. The snow melted. Flowers bloomed once more. Cherry blossom petals danced through the warm afternoon breeze. The entire village buzzed with excitement. Today was the annual Festival of Magical Lanterns. It was Everleaf's oldest tradition. At sunset, everyone would release enchanted lanterns into the night sky. Each lantern carried a wish. Some wished for good harvests. Others wished for health. Children wished for sweets. The magical lanterns would float toward the ancient spirit bloom tree before disappearing among the stars. Haon smiled as he read the festival notice hanging outside the cafe. Sounds peaceful. Mayor Ben laughed. You'll regret saying that. Why? The children. Haon blinked. Oh. Inside Haon's garden cafe, the twins burst through the door. Festival. Today's the festival. Haon smiled. I heard. Noah grabbed both of Haon's hands. You have to come. Leon nodded. Everyone goes. I still have the cafe. We'll help. That's exactly what worries me. Adrian entered a few moments later. He quietly placed several lantern kits on the table. The village committee asked me to deliver these. Haon blinked. You're helping the festival. They were short on volunteers. Mayor Ben whispered from another table. He volunteered. Adrian calmly sipped his tea. I was persuaded. Everyone looked at the twins. They smiled innocently. It wasn't difficult. By afternoon, the cafe had transformed into a lantern workshop. Children painted colorful lanterns. Villagers folded enchanted paper. Luna sat inside an empty lantern basket like a queen. Q. One little girl giggled. Luna wants one, too. Haon carefully painted tiny flowers on a white lantern. What should I wish for? Noah answered immediately. For us to stay together forever. Leon nodded. That's the best wish. Haon smiled awkwardly. That's a big wish. Nearby, Adrian quietly painted his own lantern. The twins secretly peeked over his shoulder. Papa. What? You can't draw. Adrian looked at the crooked rabbit he had painted. Apparently. Haon laughed so hard he almost spilled his paint. I didn't know the strongest alpha had such poor artistic talent. Adrian looked at Haon's beautifully painted lantern. You're better. Much better. The twins nodded seriously. Our papa is amazing. I'm still not your papa. Okay, pretty papa. That's somehow worse. As evening approached, the streets of Everleaf glowed with hundreds of colorful lights. Food stalls lined every road. Fresh pastries, grilled meat skewers, fruit candy, magical cotton candy that changed colors with every bite. Children laughed while chasing tiny floating light spirits. Musicians played cheerful songs. The whole village felt alive. Haon looked around in amazement. It's beautiful. Naturally. The twins dragged him everywhere. Let's play. Let's eat. We have to see everything. Haon sighed dramatically. I wanted a peaceful walk. Noah smiled. This is peaceful. Leon nodded. Just louder. Their first stop. The ring toss game. Noah missed every throw. Leon somehow landed all 3 rings. The prize. A tiny plush fox. Leon immediately handed it to Luna. For you. Luna sniffed it. Q. She accepted. The twins cheered. Luna likes it. Adrian quietly paid for another round. Noah looked up. Again. You looked disappointed. The little alpha smiled brightly. Thank you, Papa. Haon watched the interaction. The small, gentle moments between father and sons were becoming more frequent. Next came the shooting gallery. The stall owner proudly displayed impossible targets. No one's cleared my challenge in years. Adrian calmly picked up the enchanted toy crossbow. 3 shots. 3 perfect hits. The crowd erupted in applause. The stall owner sighed dramatically. I should have known. The grand prize. A giant plush bunny almost bigger than Noah. Adrian quietly handed it to Haon. Haon blinked. For me. The boys said you'd like it. The twins nodded enthusiastically. You nap a lot. You need a pillow. Haon laughed. Thank you. As darkness fell, the festival reached its most important moment. Hundreds of villagers gathered beside the lake. Everyone held a glowing lantern. The village elder smiled warmly. Tonight, we release not only wishes, but gratitude. One by one, lanterns floated into the night sky. Golden lights reflected across the water. The entire lake shimmered like a sea of stars. Haon looked up in wonder. Beautiful. The twins stood beside him. What did you wish for? Haon smiled. If I tell you, it won't come true. The boys pouted. No fair. A gentle breeze passed. Adrian quietly stepped beside Haon. What did you really wish for? Haon looked toward the endless lanterns. He thought for a long moment. Then smiled. That tomorrow, would be just as peaceful as today. Adrian chuckled softly. I hope your wish comes true. Haon smiled back. Me too. Suddenly, one little lantern refused to rise. It wobbled in the air before drifting back toward the ground. Noah picked it up. It won't fly. Haon gently inspected it. The enchantment faded. He quietly traced a tiny magic circle on its side. The lantern glowed warmly. Then, it floated upward, higher, until it joined the others. The villagers gasped. Did you see that? He repaired it. The forest's blessing. Mayor Ben smiled knowingly. Our Haon. The twins quietly looked at the sky. Our lantern is next to yours. So they'll stay together. Haon gently patted their heads. I suppose they will. A few moments later, music began again. Children danced around the square. The villagers invited everyone to join. Noah grabbed Haon's hand. Come dance. I don't know how. We'll teach you. Leon grabbed Adrian's hand. You too. The alpha looked genuinely alarmed. Me? Yes. I've never danced. Haon laughed. Neither have I. The twins grinned. Perfect. You'll learn together. The entire village laughed as the two most awkward adults in Everleaf were dragged into the festival dance. They stumbled, missed steps, almost bumped into each other. The children laughed so hard they could barely breathe. Even Adrian couldn't hide another genuine smile. Late that night, the festival finally ended. The twins had fallen asleep. One rested against Haon's shoulder. The other slept peacefully in Adrian's arms. Luna curled atop the giant plush bunny. The walk back to the cafe was quiet, peaceful, comfortable. As they reached the cafe gate, Noah sleepily mumbled, Papa. Haon smiled, Yes. Half asleep, the little boy whispered, Thank you, for today. Haon's heart softened, You're welcome. Adrian looked at Haon, Thank you. For giving them memories they'll never forget. Haon looked toward the sleeping twins. Then toward the glowing lanterns still floating across the night sky. He smiled. I think. I'm the one making unforgettable memories. Above Everleaf, one lantern drifted slightly apart from the others. It glowed brighter than the rest, carrying a wish no one spoke aloud. Not for fame, not for power, not even for peace. But for these ordinary, precious days. To last just a little longer. Chapter 14. The original plot strikes back. Morning sunlight bathed Everleaf in golden light. Cherry blossoms drifted lazily through the breeze. Inside Haon's garden cafe, everything was as peaceful as ever. Haon yawned behind the counter. Today's schedule. He looked at his notebook. Bake bread. Water flowers. Take a nap. Read 3 chapters of a fantasy novel. Absolutely avoid trouble. He smiled. Perfect. Luna, curled up on the counter, opened one sleepy eye. Q. Almost as if she knew. The peaceful morning wouldn't last. Ding. The cafe bell rang. The twins rushed inside. Pretty Omega. We're here. Haon laughed. Good morning. Adrian followed behind them, carrying a basket of fresh fruit from the village market. I brought oranges. Haon accepted them with a smile. Thank you. Noah sniffed the air. Cheesecake. It's almost ready. The twins cheered. Just then, a loud commotion echoed outside. Several villagers looked toward the village entrance. Who's that? Luxury carriages. There are so many. Mayor Ben frowned. We're not expecting visitors. 1, 2, 3 elegant black carriages rolled into Everleaf. Each carried the crest of one of the capital's most influential noble families. The cheerful atmosphere instantly became tense. Haon's smile slowly faded. Quote. No. His heart skipped a beat. He recognized those crests. He had seen them countless times while reading the novel. They belonged to the people who had surrounded the original villain. Some used him. Some feared him. Some mocked him after his downfall. None of them had ever been true friends. The first carriage door opened. A handsome alpha stepped out. Perfectly tailored suit. Golden hair. Sharp crimson eyes. His smile was elegant, but insincere. Cassian Ashford. Haon whispered. The heir of the Ashford family. One of the original story's supporting characters. A man who had once happily accepted Seo Haon's expensive gifts, only to publicly abandon him later. The second carriage stopped. A graceful Omega descended. Long silver blonde hair. Cold emerald eyes. Lady Evelyn Winter. In the novel, she had been one of the people bullied by the original Seo Haon. Finally, the third carriage door opened. A cheerful beta stepped out. He wore glasses and smiled warmly. Julian Carter, the original protagonist's closest friend. Unlike the others, he looked genuinely surprised. Quote. Seo Haon. Silence filled the village. The regular customers slowly gathered around the cafe. The twins instinctively moved closer to Haon. Luna's fluffy tail puffed up. Quote. Hiss. Adrian quietly stepped beside Haon. Not saying a word, simply standing there. Cassian smiled politely. So, we finally found you. Haon remained calm. Quote. Why? The capital has been looking for you for months. I wasn't hiding. You disappeared. I moved. Quote. Without telling anyone. Haon shrugged. I didn't think I needed permission. Cassian glanced around the cafe. The flowers. The children laughing. The peaceful customers. The magical rabbits sleeping nearby. He looked genuinely confused. Quote. You actually became a cafe owner. Haon nodded. I like it. Evelyn stepped forward. She stared at Haon for a long moment. Quote. You're different. Haon smiled faintly. I've heard that. You apologized. I did. You meant it. Quote. Yes. Silence. Then, to everyone's surprise, Evelyn bowed. Quote. I accept your apology. Haon blinked. You didn't have to. I wanted to. Her expression softened. The old Seo Haon would have laughed at this village. You planted flowers instead. He would have insulted children. You baked them cookies. Quote. People really can change. Haon felt a weight lift from his heart. Quote. Thank you. Julian smiled brightly. I knew it. Cassian frowned. Quote. Knew what? The rumors. What rumors? That the villain Omega had become the kindest person in the countryside. Cassian looked unconvinced. Quote. Impossible. At that exact moment, a tiny magical rabbit hopped over. It climbed into Haon's lap. Quote. Then, a family of glowing birds landed on his shoulders. Luna proudly sat on his head. The golden forest stag approached from the edge of the forest and gently lowered its head before him. Cassian stared. Quote. What? Mayor Ben smiled proudly. That's normal. No, it isn't. Just then, Noah tugged on Haon's sleeve. Papa. Cassian froze. Quote. Papa. Leon nodded proudly. Our papa. Cassian slowly looked at Adrian. Then back at Haon. Then back at Adrian. Quote. Guild master. Quote. Would you like to explain? Adrian calmly answered. They decided. We agree. Cassian nearly choked. Quote. Excuse me. The villagers burst into laughter. Even Evelyn covered her mouth to hide a smile. Julian whispered. Quote. This is much more interesting than the rumors. Cassian quietly walked toward Adrian. Quote. You're visiting every day. Quote. Yes. You. I like the tea. And the cheesecake. And. Quote. The company. Cassian stared, then slowly looked toward Haon. Then back to Adrian. You've changed too. Adrian didn't deny it. Later that afternoon, the visitors enjoyed lunch at the cafe. The atmosphere gradually relaxed. Even Cassian admitted the cheesecake was excellent. This is, annoyingly delicious. Haon laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. As everyone prepared to leave, Julian approached Haon privately. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you really leave the capital? Haon looked toward his garden. The children playing, Luna chasing butterflies, Adrian quietly helping Noah build a flower bed. He smiled. Because, I was tired of pretending to be someone I wasn't. Julian nodded slowly. I'm glad. You finally found the place where you belong. The three visitors climbed back into their carriages. Before leaving, Evelyn looked out the window. Take care of yourself. I will. Cassian sighed. Don't come back to the capital. Haon blinked. Why? Cassian smiled. Because if you do, you'll ruin everyone's image of the terrifying villain Omega. For the first time, his smile looked sincere. The carriages disappeared beyond the hills. The cafe became quiet once more. Haon let out a long sigh. That was stressful. Noah hugged him tightly. But we're still together. Leon nodded. No one took you away. Haon smiled warmly. No, they didn't. That evening, as the sun set over Everleaf, Adrian quietly walked beside Haon through the garden. Are you alright? Haon nodded. I think so. You looked afraid. I was. Of what? Haon looked toward the horizon. I thought. The past had finally come to take everything away. Adrian was silent for a moment. Then he spoke with quiet certainty. Not while I'm here. Haon looked at him in surprise. The Alpha's expression was calm as always. But his eyes held unwavering resolve. For the first time, Haon truly believed him. Some stories couldn't be escaped. The past would always come knocking. But perhaps, he no longer had to face it alone. Far away, in the capital, a sealed report landed on an ornate desk. The title read, Subject, Seo Haon. Below it, one final line had been added. Recommendation, observe closely. The original story is no longer following its intended course. Somewhere, the unseen gears of fate began turning once again. Chapter 15. Maybe this piece is worth protecting. The morning after the visitors from the capital left, Everleaf was unusually quiet. A gentle breeze carried the scent of fresh flowers through the open windows of Haon's garden cafe. The villagers had returned to their ordinary routines. Children laughed on their way to school. Farmers tended their fields. Magical rabbits hopped through the garden, pulling weeds as if it were their daily job. Inside the cafe, Seo Haon stood alone before the counter. He looked around slowly. The blanket fort, the children's drawings, the bookshelf full of novels, the flower pots lining the windows, Luna sleeping in the sun. He smiled. Home. For the first time, that word came naturally. A few minutes later, Mayor Ben arrived carrying a basket of fresh bread. Morning. Good morning. The old mayor looked around the cafe. You've changed this village. Haon blinked. Me. Mayor Ben nodded. Before you arrived, Everleaf was peaceful. But now, it feels alive. Haon scratched his cheek. I didn't really do anything. The mayor laughed. You never notice the good you do. Outside, a group of children gathered beneath the cherry blossom tree. Noah and Leon proudly led them. Today's meeting, the Garden Cafe clubhouse is now in session. The other children cheered. Haon smiled helplessly. They're serious about that. Luna lazily opened one eye. Soon, the familiar black carriage stopped outside. Adrian stepped down with a small wooden box in his hands. The twins immediately ran inside. Papa, we brought something. Haon laughed. I'm still. We know. The twins grinned mischievously. But we still like calling you that. Adrian placed the wooden box on the table. I had something made. Haon looked curious. For me. Adrian nodded. Open it. Inside was a beautifully carved wooden sign. Elegant letters decorated the polished wood. Haon's Garden Cafe. Beneath the name, a smaller line had been added. A place where everyone is welcome. Haon gently traced the letters with his fingertips. Quote. It's beautiful. I thought the cafe deserved a proper sign. Haon's eyes softened. Quote. Thank you. The villagers helped hang the new sign above the entrance. Everyone applauded as it was raised into place. Children cheered. The magical bird circled above the roof. Even the golden forest stag watched quietly from the edge of the forest. The cafe somehow felt even warmer than before. That afternoon, business was busier than ever. Travelers from nearby towns had begun visiting after hearing stories about Everleaf. Some came for the famous cheesecake. Others wanted to see the magical beasts. Most simply wanted to experience the peaceful cafe everyone was talking about. One traveler asked, "Are you really the forest's blessed gardener?" Haon smiled awkwardly. Quote. I'm just the cafe owner. Mayor Ben laughed. That's what he always says. Later, when the cafe finally became quiet, Haon stepped into the garden. The setting sun painted the flowers gold. He looked toward the forest. Toward the distant mountains. Toward the peaceful village that had accepted him. Then, the memories of the novel returned once more. The original ending. The lonely death. The empty funeral. The hatred. He quietly closed his eyes. Quote. Quote. That future. Quote. Will never happen. Not because fate had changed. Because he had changed. Footsteps approached behind him. Adrian quietly stood beside him. Neither spoke for a while. The silence felt comfortable. Finally, Adrian broke it. Quote. You're thinking too much. Haon laughed softly. Quote. Am I that obvious? Quote. Only to me. Haon looked at him. You know, when I first came here, I only wanted one thing. A quiet life. And now, Haon looked toward the cafe. Through the windows, he could see Noah and Leon laughing while Luna chased a magical butterfly. The villagers cleaned the tables together. Mayor Ben argued playfully with one of the grandmothers over whose jam tasted better. The warm lights of the cafe glowed like home. He smiled. Quote. Quote. I still want a peaceful life. He paused, then quietly added. Quote. Quote. But. Quote. I don't want to protect only my peace anymore. I want to protect. Quote. This. Adrian followed his gaze. Then, for the first time, he reached out. Not boldly. Not suddenly. He simply placed one gentle hand on Haon's shoulder. Quote. 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 Then. Quote. Let's protect it together. Haon looked at him. The words were simple, but they carried more sincerity than any grand confession. He smiled. Quote. Okay. Just then, Noah and Leon burst out of the cafe. Papa, we found Luna. The little fox proudly sat inside the giant plush bunny from the festival. Quote. Cue. The twins grabbed Haon's hands. Come play. Then they grabbed Adrian's hands. You too. Neither adult had a chance to refuse. The children dragged them toward the garden. Laughter echoed beneath the cherry blossom trees. The villagers watched with warm smiles. Grandmother Elise whispered, "Look at them." Mayor Ben nodded. Quote. Quote. They're already a family. As night fell, the cafe closed for the day. Haon locked the front door. He looked up at the stars. Quote. Quote. Past me, I think. Quote. Everything turned out all right. He no longer feared tomorrow. He no longer feared the original story. Because this life was finally his own. Inside the cafe, the twins had fallen asleep together on the blanket fort. Luna slept between them. Adrian carefully covered the boys with blankets. Haon quietly extinguished the lanterns. Warm light faded into gentle darkness. Peace settled over the cafe once more. A peaceful life, not because it was free from trouble, but because it was shared with people worth protecting. Epilogue. Far away, inside a luxurious office in the capital, a mysterious figure read the latest report on Seo Haon. The report ended with one sentence. The villain has abandoned his role. The figure slowly smiled. Interesting. He closed the file. Let's see. How long this peaceful life can last. Outside, the wind carried cherry blossom petals toward the countryside. Toward a little cafe, where a lazy Omega, two mischievous twins, a tiny magical fox, and one quietly devoted alpha had unknowingly begun writing a brand new story. One not dictated by fate, but by the family they chose. End of Volume 1. Thank you for listening to II Fiction Stories. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you next time.